Greetings, it's Timothy Else, the Digital Apothecary, and today I want to talk about a recent post I put together. So, this I've been thinking about for quite some time, and it's related to the concept of basically how the heck do we start educating about digital health, especially in relationship to once these products arrive to the market. So, bear with me on this. What I tend to see is a lot of digital health products and companies and startups are they are partnering with or doing research at like big name institutions. Like half the time they're at like Mount Sinai, major hospital in Boston, out in California, and you know San Francisco. You guys are not representative of mainstay practice, I think, in the rest of the United States. So just because you succeed in an academic medical center doesn't mean you're going to work somewhere else. And just because you say, oh, well, we work with the best and brightest, and everyone else should be able to come along, doesn't mean that's what happens as well. I so this is going to be kind of two parts. So one is about education of what needs to be done. The other one's going to be about market shaping. So that's going to be another video I do. But first, I want to talk about basically what is being done to educate on your product once you make it for everyone to, in order to use it around digital health, because I think it's relatively different and it's not like the same kind of idea that's been done in the past. Um, I would argue up front where I see that people have to kind of do this is that I think there's some areas that need to be worked on. One is that this is a new topic for a lot of people that is going to be brand new, so they're going to have to like you're going to have to bring them up to speed even on just like what is digital health, because half the time it's not like you just say, oh, this is diabetes or this is a therapeutic area. You have to explain to like technology and different terminology go around it. It's not like you bring a new drug for a disease state and be like, okay, you know how drug X work for like this? Well, this now works like this, and they still lead to these kind of outcomes. No, now you're like, well, we have an app that does this and can improve and leads to this outcome. Okay, what's an app? Like, there's different types of apps and stuff out there now, so we have to even be cognizant of that. And just so that's where I'm kind of getting bogged down. I think pharma and I would say digital health companies who partner with pharma can probably have a better chance of this. One is it's going to really piggyback off of pharma. They have money. They already have educational departments that are created to basically do all this stuff. They have people in the field like MSLs and such. So they have to kind of expand into it. But they already have resources and ideas and concepts throughout their teams. Versus startups who probably don't even have anyone that is capable or they're doing it or not very large. The other thing is the money that's going to go into this and needed is quite large. So for most of the startups, they're probably just focusing on their drug out or their product out and working in testing and such. Maybe marketing, not so much like, oh, how the hell do we educate all of this stuff? So build upon farmers' experience. I think that's going to be the one thing. Now, there are 8 areas that I really think stand out to me in terms of what has to be done. So the number one thing is we need to educate healthcare practitioners just by and large about all this stuff. And that starts everywhere. So I gave this year at the American Association of Colleges of Pharmacy a presentation on digital health. It was like Digital Health 101, or implications of products arriving in the market, and how we need to start educating students on it. I had a little bit over, I think I had about just under 200 people in a room, and I asked, how many of you guys know what digital health is? And I got a smattering hands went up. I would say probably less than 10% of the room raised their hands, which I figured. I really expect that nowadays. I don't walk surprised when people say they don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So I usually start off with the presentation just giving examples and things that are coming up what's been happening. And you start seeing people in the room just shocked, like, where the hell did this come from? This is like out of left field. What is this stuff? Like, why didn't I know about this? And why would you? It's the accreditation bodies for most universities in medicine, pharmacy, and nursing don't require any of this. Pharmacy just said we started have to do genomics. There's nothing that says pharmacy program has to have EHRs even. And some different disciplines are now moving into telemedicine and such. So we're slowly building there, but it's not like we're always up to speed. So even most of the professors that will teach our students don't know about digital health or even understand what the implications are to practice. You start talking like AI, machine learning, then blah. You talk about social aspects of social determinants of health. That's kind of like, okay, that's there. You talk about data analytics and things like that. You talk about wearable sensors, like blah. So yeah, it's and then like use of chatbots, voice assistants, things like that. Just how do you even use it? Changes in terms of patient communication. Like, no, not ready even for that. Then you even have like residency programs. Residency directors, are they doing anything, or just training institutions do they have there? And then continuing education. There's been some smattering. I've been doing a lot of those. I've been finding, um, and I've had to really go back to square one in terms of just trying to spend like half the time just talking about this stuff because I know most of the people who read it is still brand new. So I can't even get out of the beginner phase. I can't even get to intermediate phase or CEs at this time on digital health topics. And that's frustrating from my perspective because I've been doing it for 5 years and we're still at the same point. So more work has to be done in training the current workforce around understanding digital health. Because otherwise, even if you come to market with a product that's FDA cleared, and say, "Bam, we have a product that does this. Why aren't you using it? Why wouldn't you do it? Like, what are your confusions and such?" Like, well, it's because probably the knowledge base isn't really that high, so it has to be worked on. And that's going to be a little bit of market shaping. I'm going to talk about that, so I don't want to go too crazy here on this, but I would suffice to say, like, in terms of education, you're aiming at um, in the professional schools, just those 4 years, 3 years, whatever they're in there for TAs, nursing, pharmacists, medical students, etc. Trying to build stuff in there that can be utilized. Then next would be early practitioners, whether it's in residency or first years out of school, and then current older practitioners that have been in the field for a long time and trying to change their or getting them up to speed. So there's three different areas I would say that will require different teaching mechanics at large. Um, Probably the biggest buy-in would be, I would say, probably the younger practitioners who are more apt to be digital natives. You can see where you're coming from, and will probably supply and prescribe your product. Don't forget about the new generations, because if you get them while they're in school and they're so used to hearing about this, then when they come out, they want to use it. My perspective, because it's all they know. Like, look at medicine. All of medical students graduating, they are now used to basically EHR systems because it's all they've seen. You start asking to do paper charting, they kind of blow up, I think. So it's kind of that perspective. Prescribing training, number two. So, okay, follow me on this. If you basically have a product that needs to be prescribed, let's suppose it's a digital therapy to be prescribed, how the heck do I prescribe that? Who can prescribe it? Where does it go? How does it work? Is this like an e-prescription? Does it go to pharmacy? Does it go to hardware? Like, what is the process? Figure that out. So that to me is like number two. Like, you have to really nail down the prescription training of this stuff. Look at our trainees when we try telling them how to do a prescription for a medication. Current practitioners still screw this up like nothing else. You see prescriptions go to the pharmacy, get kicked back by the pharmacist because it's missing crap, or we can't even follow and understand it. Add on this digital health stuff, yeah, there's going to be more problems. I think we need some good training on that too. Patient education techniques is number three. Okay, so uh, take pharmacy again. Because I always like coming back to this because I'm a pharmacist, so it makes sense. Training about drugs. So, how do you take it? Can you take it with food? When should you take it? What should you do if you miss a dose? What does it interact with? What are things to avoid? If you have a digital therapeutic, if you have a device, if you have an app, sensor, like, okay, what do I train the patient on? You better have like this stuff nailed down. And I think easy enough to access that if you go out. And I think there needs to be some work from all these companies that make it to agree to some kind of level of standard, because if like your training information is very different from another one, it's supposed to, it's like, even like I'm seeing, like, for instance, a lot of patches. Okay, do you have to clean the area with the patch? Do you have to avoid it? Do you have to shuffle it around? Oh, yours says you do this, but yours says you don't. Like, yeah, I can see this being a headache. Number four, digital health product information. So just like with patient education and all those questions asked, like, okay, digital therapists, are there interactions with them? Can you not do it if they have these past medical history? What is the indication? What is off-label use? Like, what? Follow me on that, because where the heck do I find information? You look at almost any clinician and they will pull up to date, because that's their QuickBook Medicine book right there, where they can just type in the science and say, it says do this, or like Lexicop, or Micromedics, or ClinPharm, or all these different databases exist. There's none for digital health right now. Someone's gonna have to build that, or at least there has to be some kind of standard. Even package inserts set out by the FDA have a set thing where you can follow it and say, hey, it says do X, Y, Z. I know where to look for this information. So there has to be some kind of level out there and how to interpret it and such. I mean, we've spent lots of time training people how to do that. So, there's something there that has to be said, I think. Number 5 is tech support knowledge. Okay, let's suppose it's the weekend and the patient sees that they have a device and it starts blinking orange. What does that mean? And let's suppose they're not even going to look at the instructions. They're going to freak out. Let's suppose they call the clinician or call the office. Does the office say, hey, blinking light means this? Or what if they don't know? What if they weren't trained on what to handle that? If they say, oh, it's blinking orange, well, let me flip through my guide. My guide doesn't say anything. Okay, now I have to kick it back to textbook. Like, there needs to be some level where we know that if XYZ happens, at least we say clinician or the office or staff handles that, or the pharma company or the partners who handle the tech take over. And we need to make sure we tell the patients this up front. And even with handling the data on the clinical side, like what to do. Because the one thing that stood out to me is recently Dexcom's system crashed, I think last week. And I saw that because of one of my colleagues I follow, um, Robert Puglisi, posted that the thing wasn't sharing the data. So, and then like Dexcom and like other people were kind of quiet about it. No one knew what was going on. So like, what do you do when this thing goes down? Like, how do you handle that before? Because if your goal as a company is that thousands of people rely on your product that are being driven by your health, and something happens on the tech side, someone's going to have to know. And if suppose hypothetically there's a complete crash, the thing doesn't work, there's a new update, the bugs or whatever, what is Plan B? How do you rectify the situation? You want a good example? Watch a hospital system when all the systems goes down because they have at least Plan Bs because they know if they didn't, they'd be in trouble. Number 6, best practices. Like, work with your early partners, find out how to make it work well, and share them with other people you want. Because I don't think a lot of people are going to be like, oh, this comes second nature. And the next thing is if your goal is to get your product recommended by a guideline or such, I look at a CGM, for instance, like what are best practices for using that? Who should you use it for? How should you use it? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I think cases and best practices will be very useful up front, especially when onboarding new people to use your product. Number 7 is data privacy and data security. I've been giving a few talks for a while now on this stuff, and I will always have someone from the audience ask, well, what about data security? What data privacy? Google and Session Health just blew up this month about that information. There's been several other hubbubs. So I think there needs to be like some level where I can just be like, talk to the patient, like, hey, we're going to go on this. We're probably going to ask about data. This is what we collect. This is who it's shared for. This is how it's used. Like, make it black and white and transparent. Don't be like, put it in the clinician and be like, I don't know what they're doing with it. Because you know what? That's going to be another level why people aren't going to be adherent to treatment because they're going to be like, well, I don't trust this thing. Because after that whole Google news, you start hearing people say, I don't want to use Fitbit. I'm going to not use this wearable anymore because they hear that Google's going to buy Fitbit. And if they already screwed this up, what are they going to do with my Fitbit? Like, you can see like a domino effect. Like, there needs to be a level here that makes sense that we can talk about. This needs to be educated on as well. And the last one is how the heck do you get paid? That's number 8. If this remote patient monitoring, your product or service falls under that, you better teach the staff and everything how to bill for those services because it might be something new and associated. Like, those are things I think that need to be helped out and be explained. So those are my 8 things right now that from an educational side, I don't think is doing. I really question if it's even being very developed well internally by some companies that are working on making digital health products or digital medicines or digital therapeutics. So when they roll it out, I would say those are probably the big ones I think should at least be tangentially addressed at this current time. There's more. I'm pretty sure I could go on a bigger list, but these are like, for me and my experience when I'm hearing, where I'm talking to other people, where they're like, where do I get information on this? Where do I find out this stuff? I think things need to be made. I'm sure third parties could do it. I look at Demi right now. I think they're trying to tackle some of these things, but like, yeah, I think we still have a way to go. So in any event, this is Timothy House, the Digital Apothecary. Feel free to leave some comments or suggestions below. Take care and have a good night.